Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Guitar Souls podcast. This is episode number 113, and we're going to make sure that it is unlucky for some. I am one of your hosts, Mr. Levi Clay, and I am here with my good friend, Mr. Mike McLaughlin. How's it going, bud?
Stiff as fuck. So, I have had quite a bit of fun the last couple of days. I got my vaccine during the week, so I've not been feeling too great from that physically. I accidentally stopped taking my meds, so anyone who's out there on antidepressants or SSRIs or anything, don't do what I did and forget about them for 4 days, walking about thinking, oh, that feels like a mini heart attack, oh, I feel like all my nerves are shooting about. And Nance went, that's you've not been taking your meds, have you? I was like, no, I think I forgot to take them. And she's like, yep, that sounds like brain zaps and whatever else. And then I went to a boot camp yesterday morning, Nancy and I, at 9 a.m. in the morning, so we're up at 7, and did about an hour and a half's cardio workouts, press-ups, lunges, a bit of running, you name it. And I nearly spewed during that too. But I had a great time, and I'm stiff as fuck for it now. But aye, other than that, not bad. Yourself?
It's funny you say that, actually, because I don't know why. I do know why. I saw a picture on Facebook yesterday of somebody standing by a lock, and I was like, oh, that looks nice. The weather's nice. Let's go up to Strathclyde Lock and walk around Strathclyde Lock. Because Melissa's not been there. So
she's never been to Strathclyde Park?
No.
I mean, there's not really much to look at, but poor lassie.
Sure. M&D's is open as well. Yeah, I know, wild, absolutely wild. M&D's, of course, for anyone unaware, is Scotland's theme park. We have a theme park near where we live. It
was originally called Scotland's biggest theme park, and then all the other ones shut, so they're now Scotland's theme park.
Right.
At least the majority of the ones round about here, like Loudon Castle and stuff, gone but not forgotten, by the way.
Right. So
QBNF.
I walked around there and got home and was exhausted after that. Not like, it's a weird one, isn't it? Because we got near the end of it and I was like, I mean, obviously I could walk around this again. I'm not dying or anything. But then I got home and I sat down. I was like, it's nice to sit down, isn't it? I was like, I don't really want to move now. I just want to relax.
Rest.
Which was good.
Yes.
And I'd also throw out, the last episode was the episode where you had the hangover for the podcast.
Thanks.
And I did the Scotland game at someone's house, at a house party for the Scotland game. And I did the Levi. I did the Whitey Queen. I spewed all over the garden. I was in a bad way. But
what were you drinking?
No hangover. Well, therein was the problem, right? Mm-hmm. So I took a bunch of beers and I took a bottle of Balvenie.
Skipped a lot.
But George was also passing around shots of Aftershock and things like that. Yeah, not my thing.
So like rich drinks versus stuff that's all sugary and shit?
Exactly, yeah. And I didn't eat anything either, which a bad sign, isn't it? But once I've got a few drinks in me, I get a bit rowdy. So someone came up to me and was like, George said you're a shite bag and you can't finish this bottle of Aftershock. And there was like half a bottle there. And I was like, oh, I ain't having that, and tanned half the bottle. And bad night. I was in a very, very bad way. But, I didn't have a hangover the next day, so success.
That's the dream. I mean, I definitely lessened mine last week by being sick before I went to bed. But
yeah,
I suppose it's catch-22, isn't it? Like, you're still going to be sick. It's whether it's in the morning when you feel the worst or during the night when you're drunk enough to make you feel worse at the time.
Yeah, when you're so drunk that feeling ill doesn't... Like, it's involuntary. You're not really aware of what's happening. So
yes. I mean, I've been feeling nauseated the last couple of days anyway, so...
Well,
fun and games. You're probably going to get crab at Mike today.
Yeah, I'm going to try and avoid doing that again. It's one of those things, isn't it? Like, it's a rite of passage to get like that at a party. Everybody has to do it every now and again. And the last time I did it was at Sean's birthday party that time. So that was years ago. So
you're like, I've done a Mike. No, you never done a Mike. You done Levi.
I did a Levi, yeah.
You were stuck at a house party steaming outside, spewing all our trees and shit because you drunk too much.
Yeah, champion.
Good on you. Well done.
Yeah. We have a lot of things to talk about today. It's not actually strictly true. We got hopefully a relatively short show, but we are going to be starting. For anybody that has seen this on my Facebook, we have no fan mail today, but I'm asking for you guys to write in with some fan mail, specifically talking about your experiences of music school, higher education. And I'm interested in that from either the perspective of a tutor or as a student, because we'll get into it in a second, but I'm planning a Rage Time video on the state of music education. And we are going to start with this gloriously, I don't really know the right way to put this. This is an extremely professional post, an extremely well-written post by Melissa. Can you read this for me, Mike?
Seeing certainly can.
You do English really well. You do the reading.
Me done England good. Sadly, today is the day I have to part ways with the Academy of Music and Sound. After years of being underpaid as a tutor, I can no longer stand in front of classes of students, most especially the women who attended the Women in Music course I created, and talk about asking for what you're worth and setting an industry standard. The hypocrisy is too much, and students deserve better. Whilst there are people at the Academy past and present that I care for, I always felt I never really got what I paid for as a student at AMS, and when I got the chance to teach there, I really thought I could make a difference with the Women in Music course and bring a whole new generation of women into the industry with free education. Despite that, I was still told stories by students of singers being ignored or disregarded in classes, tutors refusing to help as it's not my job to give you the answers, and students having to pay tutors £5 to have something remarked as some sort of punishment for failing. Most students feel they don't have a voice, or at least not one that will be listened to, and that's wrong. They truly deserve better. Despite having a master's degree with distinction, a 12-year portfolio career in the industry, and a commitment to intersectionality in every project I do, fact, AMS were very happy to take full advantage of when marketing their courses. I was told to reapply for my job. When I raised issues about this, communications with me ceased and I was replaced. In a subsequent meeting with AMS, when I explained that I cared deeply about teaching but wouldn't be prepared to be treated as a pickup, put down commodity, as I believed I was worth more than that, there was one word answer: shame. You're absolutely right. What a shame that some kids are coming to AMS and walking away with truly useless pieces of paper, having gained nothing but a horrible outlook on music education. What a shame AMS's view of the industry is so warped it cannot see that underpaying and undervaluing their staff is not a hellish misrepresentation to the students of professionalism. Sorry, that's right. My brain isn't working.
Sure.
What a shame tutors are having to top up their income with universal credit or working so many extra unpaid hours as to make their pay less than minimum wage. Knowing all this, yesterday the principal asked me to reconsider. This past year, like a lot of you, I lost all my work, I had to move house, and in the new year, my father died. I took one day off because I knew it was the start of term and didn't want to postpone everyone's classes any further. I would ask the principal at AMS to reconsider. Knowing what they know about me as a professional, reconsidering whether asking me during a global pandemic to write a letter explaining why I deserve a job was the right thing to do. It was the wrong thing to do, like a lot of other wrongs still to be discussed. Any use of my image or my band's image by AMS is not an endorsement by myself or any projects I'm associated with.
Boom. So, of course, this is going to feel like a very, Levi's taking advantage. Levi's using the podcast as a way to deal with someone else's personal drama on the podcast. But I have bitched and moaned and complained about how I was treated on my degree, my music degree. And that was over 10 years ago. I had massive issues with the way music education was in the UK at the time. And I know that it hasn't got any better. I know that if anything, it's got worse. I know that as a business, it's just continuing to open up. We will let absolutely anybody in. It doesn't matter how good a player they are. We will somehow find room for them because we get a lot of money from the government in order to do that. And yeah, it's nice to see that people are speaking out on this. Posting this story publicly has resulted in a lot of people coming forward with lots more stories. I would love it if you guys could send more stories into us at GsolesFanMail@gmail.com. Because they may be used in future episodes on the show. They don't have to be named, of course. It can be completely anonymous, and they may be featured in my upcoming Rage Time video on this subject, because collectively we all deserve better. And I'm not just talking about students, I'm talking about tutors. Like, nobody should be having to work for less than minimum wage. If you are working in an educational institute, nobody should be requiring universal credit in order to make ends meet. Nobody should be going to the student saying, you need to pay me to remark some of your work. I don't want to go into too much detail about some of the other stories that I've got regarding the AMS in particular, but I've got stories about all the schools, and I would love your input on this, guys. And of course, head on over to Facebook, share this post around, because people need to be held accountable.
It's almost a perfect topic for us, isn't it? Music and business in a really bad way together.
Yeah.
Where we can rage time and call it how we see it, maybe not tell the truth, but call it how we see it.
Sure.
And give our verdict, or not welcome.
Yeah.
And yet still equally given.
It really just comes down to like one simple fact, isn't it? And that's like music education, a degree is not a cheap thing.
No, it's not.
For me, especially like growing up and doing my education in England, it was much more expensive than doing it in Scotland.
Mm-hmm.
What I walked away from my degree with was £27,000 of tuition fees in terms of student loans and things like that. And I just have to ask myself, was it worth it? Was it worth it for me? And the answer for me is obviously going to be different for everybody else listening to this, because the career I have is different to the career that everybody else has. You have to go into a music school with your eyes open. Is it going to be worth what you spend? Are you getting the service that you're actually paying for? Will this be benefiting you, or has the school sold you the dream that it will be worth what it's what you're paying for it?
My understanding from a lot of people that I know who have went to music schools is that it does cost a lot of money, and maybe not a lot of them get a return on that investment because it's such a saturated and difficult market to make a good place in.
Yeah.
Like,
and they're handing
so
out
difficult.
degrees like candy. So everybody's got the same qualification. Like I went to university to get my degree in music performance, and they were starting to open up. They were starting to become accredited degrees. We were the second year of graduates in London from the institute doing those. But now they're just bigger in classes every year. So I got it in order to stand out, and now it just brings you up to par with everybody else. So what is the point? And I mean, the horrifying thing to me is we should be able to see this as students. When you find yourself in scenarios like this, you should, when you sit down in a class of higher education with an instrumental teacher, you should know who that person is, right? Tutors are the things that bring people through the doors of music schools. Yeah. It's the quality of education. It's the quality of the tutors. It's the reputation of the tutors. Okay. If you go to a music school and you look around and all of the teachers at the music school are students of the music school who have then just become tutors at the music school, right? You look at them and the only gigs that they have ever had, the only things they've ever done in the industry is do their qualification and then teach at the school they did their qualification in, and they maybe play in a wedding band. These are not the sorts of people that should be regarded as the pinnacle of what should be teaching in these educations. We should be holding institutions like this to a higher standard. The reason they don't have better tutors is because they will not pay the fucking money for it. But when you're charging £9,000 to your students per year, where the fuck's the money going? It's not going back into the education. So I'm going to leave it at that. Did you know? This show is brought to you by our friends over at Ormsby Guitars. We want to remind you guys that there is still time to get involved in the upcoming Run 16 guitars. Those include these incredible hypes available in 5 new colours. That Dragon Burst is absolutely stunning. You can also get your hands on one of the Metal X's, again available in a range of finishes. My personal pick has to be these headless Vs, absolutely outrageously cool. Imagine one of those in an 8-string. I absolutely love these. And finally, the Ando San signature model, available in 6, 7 and 8-string availability. Go and check them out at Ormsby's website right now. This show is also brought to you by our friends over at Rev Amplification, a one-stop shop for all of your tonal needs. Head on over to their website to check out their range of lunchbox amplifiers, both the D20 and G20, 20-watt amplifiers with built-in 2-notes torpedo technology so you can record direct into your computer. If that doesn't suit, you can also check out one of their highly popular G2, 3 and 4 pedals, giving you that trademark Rev tone in a stomp box. Incredible tones. I use these myself. And finally, you may notice in the back of these videos a Rev Generator 120, an absolute masterclass in modern electric guitar tones. Check it out at their site now. So as always, a huge thanks to our friends and family over at both Ormsby Guitars and Rev Amplification. There they are, check them out. I've switched over to using the D20 now for lessons. I don't know why. I'm not going to say it sounds better than the Generator. There's just something like it's quick and easy, it's just quick and easy.
Just can't go wrong.
Yeah, I'm obviously using it for a clean tone almost all the time.
As I say, you can't go wrong. I definitely have gone wrong. The more I play with it, the worse I'm getting at understanding IRs and playing with them and trying my best to get them to sound good.
Sure.
But I think it's maybe just analysis paralysis, just playing with stuff too many options, too many things to fuck about with. But it's great fun.
Yeah.
And I agree with you, so quick and easy. Like, I don't have it plugged into a cab in the house. I've got the USB in and I've got the power cable in it and a set of headphones running through the front.
Right.
And it still sounds tremendous.
Sure.
Ridiculous, man.
We also need to draw to your attention that the new Ormsby website is live. We didn't make a mention of this before. Go and check it out. It's really cool. And I meant to say this to Perry, the only problem is when you go to the Ormsby's Reverb store, if you're in the UK, no guitars show up because they are not shown as shipping to the UK. Right. So you have to go into the filters and say, ships everywhere, and you can see everything they've got in stock because they do ship to the UK. So
I think that's changed recently. I think it's now the case that all the Euro distributors do the complete Europe UK situation, and that Perry won't be selling direct to them. Might be wrong.
Okay.
But we'll get clarification on that.
Sure. Yeah, so go and check them out. It's looking good, and who knows what guitars? Who knows what? I still can't fully show the picture of what I've asked for, but very excited. I just wanted to throw one additional point on what we were talking about before we did the ads there, and that was when I was talking about tutors teaching, and they should have some sort of reputation. I don't want anybody to think that I'm shitting on tutors there, right? If you have to take a job in a setting like this, that's absolutely fine. We all need work.
And you might be the best teacher out there.
Yeah, that's entirely true. You might be the best teacher out there. And of course, there's nothing wrong with working in wedding bands. Wedding bands is good money. I'm definitely not shitting on people for not having gigs, because I very vocally, very openly don't have gigs. Like I'm sure I could quite easily push my way into Melissa's band if I wanted to, but I don't want to do that because, well, Kyle Hood is her guitar player. He's fantastic. Like, he does a great job. And more important, I don't want that. I love what I do in music, and I love how I make a career in music. So I'd take no issue with that. It was more just this idea of, like, as a student, when you're a young person, 16, 17, and you're going into a place like this, you are being taught a set of skills. And if your tutor is standing in front of you in a music business class or whatever, what they're really aiming to teach you is how to be successful in the music industry. And if all you've really done in the music industry is you went to school and then you teach at the school and you do wedding gigs, like, you have a working relationship with the industry, but you don't have the success in the industry in the same way that you maybe wanted success when you started out in music. I moved from Ipswich to London to go to the Guitar Institute, and I went there because of the tutors, because I wanted to study with the tutors that there, because of all of the work that they'd done. I knew who every tutor was before I went there. That was the thing that drew me in. So I don't know how I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it myself. If standing up, and I'd feel bad standing up teaching like classes on live performance workshops, because I've not had to do live performance in a long fucking time. But you want sit and talk a class on music business, man, I can talk to you about that all day. You want to do a course on marketing yourself, social media marketing, I can sit and talk all about that all day, because it's an area I have expertise in. So just thought I'd throw that out there. Anyway, should we get on with the show?
Yes, sounds good.
We've got a lot of things to talk about today. Why don't we start out with... that was one wants to reload. This is the oldest story, actually. So Courtney Love, we didn't initially run with the story where she was accusing Trent Reznor of being a paedophile, and she didn't accuse Dave of that, but she was...
No, she said Dave was just riding on Kurt's coattails, essentially, and that everything he done was Kurt's doing.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah. Which...
So she went... and had a bit of, I think she did a bit of an episode, which is not unlike her.
Yeah, that's the reason we wouldn't run with a story like that is not because we don't want to pass around terrible hearsay like that. Like, we'll talk about hearsay, we're fine talking about hearsay, but when it comes from Courtney Love, who has a reputation for saying and doing dumb things, you know what I mean? And now, of course, she's apologised for it, because you have to.
The thing that concerns me the most is she could have valid points in between the stuff that's nonsense, and would never know the difference. You know what I mean?
The classic boy who cried wolf. Yeah.
And it could be a total shame, because she could be saying something that's entirely valid, but when it starts off as X is a paedophile, Y steals money, you're like, oh, calm it back a bit, please.
I mean, it's especially...
as a start.
It's especially incredible when the issue that she would take with Dave Grohl is that he's riding off the coattails of her husband's success. Sorry, you're still talking about your husband who's been dead since, what, 94, 95?
Yeah.
Dave Grohl, you could argue that he's only successful because of Nirvana. Fine. You could argue that he's only had the opportunities that he's had because of Nirvana, but you could never argue that Dave Grohl doesn't deserve the level of success he has based off how good the Foo Fighters are. If Nirvana had never existed, it might have been harder for him to find a platform to play in front of.
But there's no denying the songwriting, the skills, the live abilities.
Yeah,
a lot.
Absolute, a talent. He's a talented motherfucker. And not just in the music thing, like he gets on with people, doesn't he? Like before I was even really listening to the Foo Fighters, it was around I can't think of the year, but let's think it would be the year like Tenacious D had Tribute out, right? And he's the devil in that, right?
2001, 2002, aye,
sometime around then.
When Kerrang was still cool.
Yeah, he's the devil in that, right?
He is.
And
they played the drums on quite a few of the songs, two or three songs on the album, I believe.
I didn't know that.
Aye.
I never owned the album or really listened to it. So.
There's a couple of good songs on there.
Sure.
Karate's good.
I'll take your word for it. I do. I like Jack Black. To be fair, it was just I was really into metal then, and anything that was a little bit more light-hearted at the time was not really something I prefer.
Posers.
I know, I fucking posers.
Says the country boy.
But then at the same time, we think of him on Queens of the Stone Age. No one knows, like very obviously in that video.
Plays drums on a lot of that stuff as well.
Yeah,
quite a few tracks on that album.
The song that I remembered just recently while I was driving is, do you remember the Jack Black film Orange County? With the
Foo
one
Fighters, aye.
Yeah.
Not the one, just the only one to make me feel. That was a good tune.
Bingo, yeah. And as far as I'm aware, that hasn't been on a Foo Fighters album.
No, that was released just as a single for that film.
And I don't know beyond that I've never seen the film. He may have had something. The point is, the man has been everywhere and done everything, and it's not like let's get the guy in from Nirvana.
Yeah.
It's he gets on with people, so and that's cool. So, Courtney Love Yudi, where is her statement? Is there let's go for the read her statement.
Yeah, so she put it on Instagram as far as I know on her story, and then deleted it. And the reply after that, or the follow-up, was, I need to apologise for my recent post. It was insensitive and it was wrong. No matter how I feel, there are real people behind my words. I need to learn to be more responsible with my words. I am truly sorry for those I've hurt. I will do better.
It's a wild thing to say, isn't it? Like, you accused a man of being a paedophile. that's not. And I don't think I've ever said it on the show. Because you've said it and you've been so vocal about it, the idea of there's two things that you can accuse a man of being that there's no coming back from.
You made it 3, if you remember.
I made it 3, yeah. But I totally agree with your point.
Those are not the kind of accusations that you can throw around willy-nilly.
Yeah.
For your own sake, for genuine victim's sake, if it is something you're saying without any proof or whatever, and for the people you're accusing.
Yeah.
It's such a butterfly effect situation that if you're not careful, it just...
Yeah. And you'd think that she, of all people, would know better. Somebody that has been, for decades, accused of killing her husband. And I'd give no kind of credence to those accusations either, because it's like, were you there? You don't know the situation.
It's just a strange one, isn't it?
So
she does this, though, every now and then she comes out the woodwork and does something stupid. And I feel sorry for her. She's obviously got her demons.
That is absolutely true, actually, to be fair. And I've never actually really listened to any of Hole's stuff.
You're not missing anything.
I'm sure I've probably heard 1 or 2 songs, but
I've heard Skin on Me, I believe it's called.
That sounds about right, but nothing I would remember, because as a sound, it's just not really my scene.
Celebrity Doll, I think the other one's called.
That sounds like one as well. Yeah.
Celebrity Hole, I think it is.
She's certainly
Doll Parts, Teenage Whore, Miss World. Whore is whore, by the way, just Scottish.
She certainly had a long career, and I just think the sad part of it is that she is more well known for her actions rather than her music, and that's like, why would you continue to do that? Just go out and release a banger of a song.
It's only a game. Why you have to be made? You seen that video? No. Wee Polish guy talking about playing hockey. Folk are giving him a hard time. And he just goes, "It's only a game. Why you have to be made?" That was my ringtone for a long time.
I can totally get on board with that.
It's great to annoy people when they're playing computer games and getting upset. Just send them that over voice chat. It's only a game. Why you have to be mad?
Yeah. Plus, there's that idea of like, what you're mad about? Losing, because like you don't lose. There's no such thing as losing. You either win or you learn something.
As long as you've got a second chance.
Yeah.
And when you're playing COD Warzone or whatever, then you've got infinite chances, so you don't have to worry about.
Okay, so let's move on from that, and we'll talk about another story involving a woman with controversial things that have been done around her name and surrounding her. Vicky Cornell, coming back on this story that we talked about, must have been a while ago now.
10, 20 episodes ago or so.
Yeah, a long time ago.
About Vicky and the estate fighting with the rest of the band of Soundgarden.
Petty.
However, Soundgarden posted on their social media a few days ago, just as an image, but it's all text. Soundgarden and Vicky Cornell, the personal representative of the estate of Christopher Cornell, are pleased to announce that, effective June 15th, 2021, they've come to a temporary agreement that will transfer the Soundgarden social media accounts and website to the band's remaining members, Kim Thayil, Matt Cameron and Ben Shepherd, and their managers, Red Light Management. This includes Soundgarden's website, Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, and the links were on there too. The agreement marks a productive first step toward healing and open dialogue, and the parties wish for the social media accounts to celebrate the band's accomplishments in music while continuing to honour Chris's legacy. I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah.
I'm glad that the petty shit's out the way, but
it's not, is it though? Because
No.
temporary agreement.
Exactly, and it's we both agree that it should be there to celebrate the band's accomplishments in music while continue to honour Chris's legacy. The fact they've put band with a capital B makes me think this is being copied out of a legal agreement. You know what I mean? When they do it like the party, the band, whatever,
Sure.
and that'll be it.
That's
it's always
an interesting
capitalised.
observation. Yeah.
So in my mind, it's just the way it's worded is in
Sure.
like this. Imagine this is some sort of tacit agreement. We're telling you that you're getting it temporarily. You can do what you want, but however, this is how we're going to address it.
It's also very strange to me that, you know, the website, the Facebook, the Instagram, and the Twitter, that Vicky would have had sole access to those. Like, bands are interesting things, aren't they? Because you never know the inner workings of how a band works.
The machinations and power dynamics.
Like, I mean, I'm sure we can briefly talk like Party Cannon, but like Chris is the most active in terms of like behind the scenes and dealing with the management side of the band. Like, do you deal with any Facebook messages for Party Cannon personally?
Sometimes, depends what the topic is. I take more responsibility with the condition of equipment and stuff,
right?
Especially the practice room. Just keeping the speakers on top, make sure we've got the right stuff, trying to work out technical issues so that we can have better live shows. But that doesn't take all that much, to be honest. That's just more like when something goes wrong, knowing where to take it to get fixed, or being proactive and buying spare parts. For example, not long ago, 2-3 years ago maybe, one of the tweeters went on one of the practice room speakers, so I bought 2 spares so that I always had one aside.
Sure.
Daft things like that, you know what I mean?
Sure.
So nothing that's really taxing, but when it comes to the actual music business side of it, pretty much Chris. We all have access to the socials, but he's pretty much on top of it.
Yeah.
We do joke openly and often that it's Chris and the Party Cannons. Just can't argue.
Yeah, like obviously I'm not involved in the band in any way, shape or form, but I always in my mind think of it as like Chris's project. I know he's doing a lot of the writing, and that doesn't make it like any less your band. You've been in the band a long time, but that's the point that I'm trying to make, right? Bands are weird and complicated things.
They're so different. Every band I've been in has been different. Some bands with jammed music, some people have brought things independently.
Yeah.
With Party Cannon, we write things into tab and send it to each other to learn and fuck with. Chris is just the most prolific writer in the band,
right?
So that's why we stick with a lot of his stuff.
Sure.
And he's a really good songwriter, to be fair.
Knows what he's doing.
He does. Captain plagiarism. Only kidding. But no, that's the dynamic we have. But I know loads of bands that are completely different. Folk that can't write songs apart. People that can't write songs together. People that do it in a different creative way. Here's a riff, you play a second riff. That's a cool riff. This one will follow that one.
Sure.
And just however it works, it works.
I guess the weird thing with the Soundgarden situation is there are lots of bands that we could talk about. In fact, we talked about System of a Down a hell of a lot on the show. And of course, the famous thing, not just with them, but with any other band that people fall out over time and time again, is creative differences. You know, and when it comes to Soundgarden, there's this weird vibe where it doesn't seem to be that there was any creative differences. Certainly not publicly.
No.
You know?
There's none of their music has been straightforward enough to ever think, oh well, they're all writing from one degree. It seems to be that everybody brings their own influences to the songwritings, at least for what I've heard, and that's where it that's how it works. It's such a good melting pot rather than like a do what I'm telling you.
Yeah, this is my song.
I mean,
this is no, don't do that on my song.
Could you imagine ever trying to tell Kim Thayil what to play in a song? He's the most weird, backwards, individually voiced guitarist I can think of that genre.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, you can tell Jerry Cantrell for his tone.
Yeah.
Other guys, even Kurt to a degree, you can tell that DS1 blasting through whatever he's fucking running it through. But the thing about Kim is, it's not necessarily his tones or whatever, it's just these weird choices of chords and stuff.
Yeah.
Which is cool. I love it.
Yeah. Maybe they did have a lot of creative differences behind closed doors.
I don't see it happening.
But yeah. It's just like, obviously I didn't know Chris, you didn't know Chris, none of us knew Chris.
Yeah, I knew Chris.
But I have to look at this and go, I just can't believe this is what Chris would have wanted. Who'd want this? This wasn't a band that had public spats.
No.
It's embarrassing, and like, it's just money, isn't it? Vicky wants to make sure that she gets her share of money, gets the right amount of money, because like honouring Chris's legacy is about music. This band should just be able to release whatever they have that's left over. Hell, even if they started going out and touring again, as Soundgarden with a different singer in their place. Like that's still, surely that's honouring Chris's legacy to a degree. Do you think Queen that goes out without Freddie Mercury is somehow shitting over Freddie Mercury's
When they
legacy?
pick terrible singers, aye.
Yeah, okay.
No, it's not shitting on his legacy, but I don't think it's Queen. That's just a personal take. I think there's a lot of bands out there where they've had a core membership that you take away one of the main elements of it, then it isn't quite the same band.
Sure.
And I'm staying away from the subjective part of, well, are they in it for money or are they in it for the real thing, man? Because it doesn't really matter, to be honest. But as far as I see it, like a band like Megadeth will always be Megadeth as long as Dave's in the front. It's just going to be.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty shit what's happened with Ellison recently, but they've been
I
a
can't
band that
believe
have been
I've not added
consistently
the
known.
Ellison story, so we'll add that in after
Yes.
this.
So the consistency and how many members have changed throughout that band, that's part of their sound.
Yes.
You hear Dave's riffs, you hear Dave's voice, you hear Dave's influence, but there's always like a wee change up every couple of years, which is cool. It goes with the band kind of thing. Metallica were still Metallica when they got rid of, well, when Cliff passed away, but then also when
I got rid of Jason.
Jason Newsted, that's exactly it.
Yeah.
Still Metallica. But KK's Priest isn't Priest.
Yeah.
In the same sense that some bands just wouldn't be the same.
We had a comment on that actually, KK's Priest. Somebody commented and said, I've seen the video, but it wasn't because I watched it. It came up as a YouTube advert. Would that count as a view? And the answer to that is yes.
Oh, right. So there's marketing.
That might be a
Auto
way that
plays.
they've got views.
Aye,
from
that makes
people,
sense.
Which is, yeah.
That's clever.
Yeah.
Didn't realise they counted as plays even if they were auto views. That's cool. Fair enough. Aye, that's no disrespect to the rest of the members of Soundgarden in any way, shape or form. If they're going to perform themselves, then they've got way more entitlement to than I've got to comment on it. Just
very diplomatic.
Just got to be honest. Like at the end of the day, who the fuck am I? I should be keeping my mouth shut. I'm not involved. But since we are social commentators and we're up on our fucking high horses at the moment, up in those soapboxes, I wouldn't go and see it. It's probably the best way to put it. They could get the closest vocalist they could in the world to Chris or somebody who did him the best justice. And I just wouldn't go because it's not Chris. And that's not because I don't want to see Kim, Matt and Ben do their thing. Because, again, Soundgarden are one of those bands that's like a greater than the sum of their parts, like Queen were.
Yeah.
Notice I said were.
Sure.
And I just think it'd be too much of a difference for me. Is that fair?
But if they went out as the three of them with a different singer and called themselves Noise Lounge, we'll air it.
Stop it. Just, I mean, I might go. Aye,
sure.
To be fair,
sure. Yeah.
As long as I'm not just playing Soundgarden songs all night.
Point is, like, this is Chris's legacy currently. Vicky, you're in control of his legacy, hen. Like, you're in control of his leggy. You're in control of his legacy, hen.
You've got his wee leggy going.
And we're sat here talking about this rather than talking about all their great music that they made. It just seems like such a shame. I'm just gonna throw in the David Ellison update. Utter fucking horseshit. Not happy about this in the slightest. But David Ellison has been not just fired from the band, but the album is done by all accounts.
Mm-hmm.
His bass parts are being re-recorded. Like, that's so dumb. That's so unbelievably dumb.
I mean, it's not like you're going to hear through the tracks or anything, man. Come on.
Yeah. That's so dumb.
It's also such a big kick in the balls. It reaffirms in my mind that this very much was Dave Mustaine going, oh, opportunity.
This is my way to get rid of him.
Yeah. Aye, like I've had enough of him doing this and doing that. This is the final nail in the coffin. I'm better than you. How dare you challenge me?
Yeah.
Again, totally subjective, anecdotal take on that.
Sure.
So
the thing is, like, I'm dealing with Kiko at the moment. We're doing the all the corrections for the tab book that we got coming out soon, and like, I'd never raise this with him because the more you like, I don't even want to say to him, shame everything that's going on in the Megadeth camp, because like, even he's not in a position where he can really comment on it, and I don't mean comment on it publicly. I mean even privately. Like, what can he say? Like, I literally just turn up, play what I'm told, and go home, and like, it's an honor to be in the band type thing. And one day, if Dave decides he wants to replace me, I will appreciate the time that I've had in the band, because there will never come a time where I can ever feel like this is my band or that I'm really a part of this band. I'm a hired gun. If David Ellison can not just be thrown out of the band, but have his bass parts re-recorded on the upcoming album, I mean, it's egregious, but it's nowhere near as egregious as those fucking Ozzy Osbourne albums, the first two albums, the Randy albums that Sharon had the bass parts re-recorded on. When they did the reissues of those to avoid having to pay Tommy and Rudy. It wasn't Tommy on the first one, but let's just say, why are names escaping me for this? It wasn't Rudy either. Names are irrelevant. I'll come back to that at another point. Point is, replace them because they didn't want to pay them the royalties because they'd had lawsuits related to them. So they got Mike Borden and Robert Trujillo, they were in Ozzy's band at the time, to re-record the bass parts to those albums. Decades after they would. And I mean, to be fair, those were the versions of the albums that I grew up listening to. I'm completely unaware of that fact, and now I'm like, that's just so. I didn't get to experience these albums the way that they would have been experienced.
It's like, keep politics out of music. People are in music, therefore there will always be politics in music. Sorry, deal with it.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I tell you what, seeing as we're talking about, we've talked about Metallica a couple of times, why don't we do the Metallica story that I was sent via Twitter by Chris. I'm getting there.
Good job, you've got it there.
I know. I forgot to bring it up. There it is. Okay.
Did you have an argument with Uber?
Yes.
Yes. Right. You'll never guess what Metallica's most used word in their lyrics is. Would I? It's metal injection. Never guess it. Never. That'd be never then.
Do you think it's never?
I mean, that's what I said. Although I said yeah to start with.
Yeah, we obviously joked and was like, it's obviously yeah. So you would think never? And what
Just the amount of times I've heard, the amount of different songs that I've heard James Hetfield say never in. Through the Never. The chorus of Blackened. Never. Unforgiven. Never see, never be, etc.
Okay. So the title does kind of give that away. You are right, it was never. Yeah.
I did guess that beforehand, didn't I?
You did, you totally did. Yeah, so I will give you that. Most common words, excluding and, the, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And he did leave in yeah. Is never 146 times. Followed by, in fact, I'll bring this up on screen so people can see this. One, see, away, take, life. Why let and back? They're not the same. Oh, okay, I guess they're both 87. It implies they're the same word. I don't understand that. Yeah, 68 times, yeah. Well, maybe person that did this on Reddit, maybe if you did the same thing, but didn't just do it for studio recordings, but did it for all live recordings, then yeah, would get to take its rightful place at the top of that.
That would be ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm glad it never won. That's really good. Have you seen these compilations that are linked at the bottom, like Metallica Likes Death? Somebody just cut all the times that James Hetfield says death, dying, dead, whatever, and cuts it together, and it's horrendous.
See, normally, if we'd had our headphones on, I'd just hit play there and I'd hear it, but I can't do that.
But no.
Because I'm an idiot. So
no, not at all.
One time we're not wearing headphones and I'm unable to do that.
Truthfully, you're not missing anything.
No.
It's not going to be a bad thing to stay at the road yet.
Okay, so Kiesel.
You can tell this story because I don't actually know the context other than what you told me.
Sure.
I'll happily read the statement if you want me to do it first as a precursor.
Well, I didn't either. I saw this and I was like, what the hell's going on here? Because the thing with Kiesel fans is they are the worst. The absolute worst. There's nothing wrong with liking a brand. But forgetting that it's a brand.
Mega fans, extremists of any ilk are the worst.
Yeah, but I guess the point I'm making is like, if you play Kiesel, you're not one of these people, but just make sure you don't become one of these people. And it's like console, the people that fight about consoles.
You're right. People that play consoles are idiots. If they don't have a PC, they deserve to be punished.
Or PC users,
PC. No, I'm just not right.
I
get what you're saying. The people who are like vehemently, I don't even know how to, discriminatory.
They just become ambassadors for the brand like they're members of the family rather than actually the customers. They forget that they are customers.
Mm-hmm.
And, when you think about the TTM thing, that's the problem that what went on there. Lance mobilized his fan base and made them feel like they were part of the company. Well, Jeff has done the same thing, and he's done it. He hasn't gone out of his way to do it, but he's allowed that thing to foster.
I think what probably, in my mind, when I think of Kiesel, I think the rapid expansion of bringing on so many modern artists was a big part of that.
Right.
And I don't mean that in any disparaging way or saying that they went about it the wrong way, but I think a big part of bringing so many of those fans on that are rabid is having so many people that endorse the company.
Yeah.
And that put them out in that public light, because if you've seen their artist roster, it's pretty ridiculous.
Sure.
I'd imagine the majority of the money they spend on any sort of marketing or whatever goes towards their endorsement.
Sure.
fund essentially, or whatever. However they do it, I don't know. But you know what I mean. Like you're going to bring in all of those super hardcore, diehard fans of people from X and Y band. When you've got 200 different bands with 100 vehement members, there you go. You've got essentially a frothing fan base.
Sure, but like I'm a frothing fan for Michael Romeo. I would buy anything that man puts out, but I would never. And I owned the Comparison Michael Romeo signature, but I would never be that. I'd never be a Kiesel fan about Comparison. I would never fight. And these people, they fight. They fight people about
Corey,
Kiesel being the best brand, and I just don't get it. Don't get me wrong, Kiesel made some great guitars, but you are still the customer. You are still just absolutely the customer. And anyway, we'll read this post and I'll give you the wider context for it, so I'll bring it up. So
as well. Kevin Rankin's into the Kiesel Guitars Carvin Guitars group. Never thought I would want to start playing other instruments before yesterday. Now selling 7 of my 10 Kiesels, and it will no way put in a new order. At least all my Carvins can stay. So dumb. Love his music. Make more of both. I realise no one should care. No one is in KNOW, so sick. I realise no one should care about my opinion, nor should it change yours. I'm just a guy who has played guitar for over 20 years, and it's my favourite thing in the world besides my family. And today sucked.
To be fair, so I've not presented the wider context here, but it felt like when you were reading that you were teasing him a little bit, whereas actually I think he's overreacted, of course, because he's let his politics take over. So the wider context to this is there was a gentleman by the name of Mike that worked for Kiesel Guitars.
Not me.
Sure you've probably seen his name in the
Not
groups, just give Mike a call type thing. Well, Mike left Kiesel, and in doing so,
Was he disgruntled by any chance?
He was disgruntled. He went on to their Facebook page and changed their logo to the Kiesel logo, but with a rainbow flag, right? Now, Jeff has a very strict no politics thing with Kiesel. And I that's something that I'd absolutely support.
Totally.
Just purely because, like, you don't really want to alienate anybody. And you could be seen as, like, being a fence sitter for that, but, like, there's nothing worse than making people feel unwelcome by something, and we're seeing that in this.
I think that the next worst thing to that, not making people feel unwelcome, is that obvious performative allyship.
Yes,
that a lot of companies do, especially around about Pride Month, etc. So I totally agree with that point. If you are staunch about no politics, then fair enough. You're not using your voice for a good cause, blah blah blah. You're just remaining what is a business entity and not getting interfering in people's lives.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than like Sony changing their logo to the Pride flag for Pride Month, apart from the Middle Eastern branch of Sony on Twitter who don't change anything. It's like you don't support the rights of gay people if it's not company wide.
Performative allyship.
Exactly. So this is like
no bueno.
Mike did it, and obviously the right thing for Jeff to do then would be to just leave it. But he didn't. He changed it back, which was seen by many as being an active anti-support, an active attack on Pride. I personally don't really see it as being that way.
I think that's, for Jeff, no matter what you do, you're fucked.
Yeah.
No, but you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. I don't want politics on this platform. Right, so I need to remove it, but then I'm going to look like a homophobe.
Yes.
But if I keep it on, then I've essentially alienated my point of not being political on this platform, and therefore I'm going to have to weigh in on every other subject, else be called a performative ally.
Having said that, like, I can also get by keeping it there, the reason he doesn't want politics is because ultimately he doesn't want to alienate people that have bad opinions. And the reality of the situation is anytime a company changes their logo to the Pride logo, if on Twitter or whatever, Facebook, if you go to Sony's page right now, and I keep saying Sony because I've checked it recently, anytime that happens, you go to the picture, read the comments, and you'll see a tirade of people saying that they'll no longer support the company, right? You are trying to avoid that happening. And all right, it's nice that you kind of pick a side, but Jeff didn't want to do that. And you could look at that and go, why would you want customers like that? But that, in my opinion, is really the problems that are going on in society, where it's like you have different opinions to me, therefore let's keep ourselves separated. And it's like, ultimately, there are a lot of people out there with a lot of bad opinions. Many people listening to this podcast think that I have bad opinions on things, but we can put those things aside and you can listen to what I have to say, and I'm happy to listen to the things that you have to say, because that would never be a reason for people to separate. So I actually kind of admire that Jeff wants to be zero politics in terms of like the company output, and but in this scenario, he totally fucked it.
I honestly think, and I don't want to be defending anyone, but genuinely, I think he's just in a shitty position of having to deal with yourself.
Yeah, and so Mike also, when he left a post in the Facebook group, and now I didn't get to see that post in the Facebook group, but that was deleted. And herein lies, I guess, the problem with the Kiesel thing. You talk about like militarizing their fan base and all of this stuff. It is fostered. That's something that they do actively foster in that group, because they delete criticism from the group. If anybody is this guy, he won't be in the group anymore, and it won't be that he won't be in the group anymore because he left. I mean, sure, he did left, but this post will have been deleted and he will have been banned from being in the group. And that's very Kiesel. That's very...
Going down the route of the left-hand wrath guy, the Lone Wolf Audio. Have you seen him? He's like the ultimate, or the main, in his own mind, the only person that really does the HM2 rebuilds justice, the rip-off pedals, when in fact he's no right to claiming a non-existent throne. But at the same time, a lot of his work is questionable.
And one of the things you said earlier on this podcast is that like everything is politics, even when you don't want it to be the case. And this is a good example of it. Jeff has to take a political stance no matter what way you look at it. And I'm not even talking about pride. I'm talking about the idea of people freely expressing themselves, people being critical of him. Like, there's nothing more American than being allowed to be critical of something,
Unless it targets straight white values.
But in this case, or unless it targets your business.
Yes.
If somebody has negative opinions about your business, Jeff wants to shut that down. If people want to have negative opinions about the Guitar Souls podcast or my YouTube channel, I don't delete comments from my YouTube channel. YouTube does, though. I'd just like to little tangent on this one. Nothing fucks me off more. I get notifications anytime I get comments on my phone, right? So I can see what they are. I can literally read what it is. And I go, okay, cool. Let's go and check that out. Let's go and read that or whatever. I can see them in my notifications, click them, and then you go to it and it's comment not found, right? And it's not that people write a shitty comment and then they remove the shitty comment. It's that they've used bad language or whatever it happens to be, and then YouTube auto deletes it. Now, there was absolutely a time where I used to be able to see all of those comments in the either marked as spam or, comments that I would have to approve, but they don't even appear there anymore. So if people say like really horrible shit to me, they might think that I'm deleting their comments, but it's just not the case. If you want to throw horrible comments at me, I don't fucking mind. Bring them on. I'm a big boy, literally. I can handle myself.
You think we should pitch YouTube adults to the YouTube group? There's some of us that actually can swear and we use adult language. We like to talk about adult themes and the topics don't have to be taboo at all times.
Yeah, so dumb move, absolutely dumb move. But let's move on and talk about another guitar company thing.
So we don't just shill here, don't we not?
How do you mean?
We don't just constantly talk about brands that we love, that we're lucky enough to have partnerships with. We obviously talk about a lot of equipment.
Sure. Yes,
we're not being shelled into. It was a joke, obviously.
No.
But anyway.
Well, I was thinking because we were talking about a couple of episodes ago, we were talking about the idea of not just covering new products that came out. And we said the only time we would do that is if we think the product is interesting or worth actually talking about.
And this is right up that fucking street.
This is right up that street.
Right up that street. Ibanez, old mate Ibanez.
Yeah.
Has a nice run. I'm not sure the logo they've got done.
But there's a negative side to this, and I can't wait for you to see it. So
okay.
So I'm going to bring it up for people. Ibanez are bringing out a new range of iron label guitars.
Yes.
And we don't really care about the B2Bs. I mean, to be fair, they look good.
I like the fanfare sound. That's not a BTB. The BTB is the fourth one. Sure, yeah. The very end is a sound gear, an SR.
Right.
I believe.
But aside from that, they have an Iceman.
Which may as well be the fucking Wes signature.
Yeah.
But it's beautiful.
And a Xiphos.
Two Xiphos, actually.
Yeah.
One with a trem, and one, I think, has also got a trem, but one's a baritone length.
Is that... So I've not actually looked into the specs for any of these, but...
Yes, so the main concern people have brought up, which you're probably going to talk about, is that Xiphos is 25.5-inch scale 7-string. No! Stop doing it!
That's actually not what I was going to bring up, but that is an interesting thing to point out. Yeah.
Just stop doing it. Enough. I mean, I'm kind of getting fed up of the all black Iron Label
Sure.
trying their best to look like a death metal or a deathcore brand.
Do you remember the Gothics? The Epiphone Gothics growing up?
Oh, fuck
Just
off.
those straight black ones.
Yes, that had XII in the 12th fret instead of an actual fucking fret marker.
Yeah.
Oh, stop it. I seen somebody recently nearby selling an HR Geiger Iceman. Okay. Guess how much they're asking for it?
Those weren't expensive guitars.
Guess how much they're asking for it?
It's going to be
And
something
it's local.
like 700. No,
At least double. 1,500.
really?
1,500 they're asking.
Absolute insanity.
I know, I looked at it and I'm like, that's a £300 guitar when you bought it, mate.
Yeah, that's
Just because HR Geiger's passed away doesn't mean it's going to suddenly fucking, what's that, quintuple in value?
Yeah. That's Wow.
No.
Yeah.
Thanks. Right, what's your downside then? Tell me.
I mean, don't get me wrong. These are cool. I actually, personally speaking, don't really like the Zyphos shape. It doesn't really do anything.
I'm not massive on it until you see somebody using it. For example, you watch Mohamed Soumez
from
Necrophages playing one, and you're like, you look cool as fuck. The same way that not everybody can suit an ML.
Sure.
They made it look minted. Other people generally look like bangers when they play them.
I think that's one of the, like, you made a very, very fair comment there. I totally know exactly what you're talking about there. It's like there are certain people that play an instrument and then suddenly in your mind you associate it with that, therefore it's cool. Mm-hmm. So maybe, like, if I'd never seen anybody play the Iceman, I'd go, that's not cool. But I grew up seeing Darren Malakian play that in the early System of a Down stuff, so the Iceman is cool because of that. So I see that Iceman, I'm like, that's cool. I like an Iceman.
Yes.
But I can see how some people might look at it and go, why does the lower horn look like a cock? You know? It's just and if
I love an Iceman. I love the shape, yeah.
They're super fucking cool. If I was going to criticise Ibanez on design, you were talking about the shorter scale length for the Zyphos 7 strings.
No, for the Iceman 7 strings, 25 and a half.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's
standard scale, but we are. Why would you put a 7 string and then do it 25 and a half? Yeah. Don't do it. Stop it.
I just think that they're a little bit out of touch. Not in terms of like marketing, they tend to be pretty good with stuff like that, but I think they're a little bit out of touch in terms of their design ethos for certain areas of music. Because the issue I take with that is obviously anybody with any experience in that genre would tell you that you want a longer scale length for a 7 string. You just simply want it.
Yes.
When you look at their multi-scales, their fan frets, they put their straight fret at the 12th fret.
Yes, and it means for
the first fret is ridiculously out the wrong way, and it just strikes me as a very kind of, well, that's the obvious place that you'd put it. We don't need to take on any feedback or really think about this. We'll just do it. It'll be fine type thing, and I think they've missed the mark on that. So that's a little bit disappointing. No, the comment I was going to raise on these is where is it? In my Discord server.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can just bring it up on Instagram, I'm sure. It was posted by Ibanez on their Instagram, and then Axe Palace, who are a pretty big reseller, responded to it and said, it's always great when dealers have to find out about this from customers rather than getting a heads up. Ibanez seem to have been I'm hearing reports of this, like Ibanez really dropping the ball in this area and just trying to like launch and announce things themselves rather than telling, the people that they rely on to sell their fucking gear what's coming.
Would that necessarily be them? Or would that have been the distribution companies they use? Obviously, they've got a distributor for the UK.
Sure, which would be Headstock.
Correct.
But
I didn't want to mention them, but you are in.
But they will they'll be told when they can tell dealers about things. Like
that's what I'm saying. Has that been passed to Headstock and Headstock haven't distributed it? Or has it been Ibanez have dropped the ball completely?
No, it will be Ibanez who told them that you can't distribute this. I know about some things that are coming up. I've been hinted from Headstock about other things that are coming up. But they can't give me more information than they're allowed to give out.
I get there'll be embargoes. I totally understand that.
Yeah.
My point is that could it be they've failed in their obligations, or do you think it's been actually
because it's worldwide?
All right,
it's stores everywhere. Okay. Just they're hearing about this stuff at the same time as everyone else. And to be fair, I'm okay with that as a business model. Mm-hmm. I don't think that with the internet, Ibanez can tell more people about the upcoming guitars than Axe Palace can. So I get it as a model. I don't know why Axe Palace would be upset about it, but I do know why they're is like letting the team down a little bit there. So good work.
You should definitely have all your dealers on board. Everybody should be singing for the same hymn sheet.
Exactly.
That's the bad times.
All right, let's do this. David Guetta sells his songs for a 9-figure sum. That's a 9-figure sum is a really weird way of describing a number, isn't it? How big is a 9-figure sum?
At least 100 million.
Yeah,
That's a lot of money.
sure.
A lot of money.
It's absolutely a lot of money.
Ludicrous.
I think without thinking about it, when you say to someone, "How 9 figures? How big is that?" They're gonna. I imagine they're probably going to be thinking billions.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
But even then, the distinguishing, there's obviously a large difference in number. But when it comes to currency and effectively how wealthy you are, I don't imagine you would really notice the difference between 100 million at least and a billion.
Yeah.
You get where I'm like,
totally,
there's such a gulf of difference in between there, but once you get past a certain caveat, you've already got infinite money. You've already won the cheats. Like you,
Yeah. So this is a BBC News story. It's obviously not guitar related, but we do talk about music business a lot. Our final story of the day is definitely, again, kind of businessy related. I will let you read through this.
I just thought it was pretty mental, and that's why I linked it. Obviously, we've been talking about, as you said, so many people selling off their back catalogues, etc., and their rights to whatever. But David's kind of went a step further. So this is, as you said, BBC News. David Guetta, the producer behind hits like Titanium, I Got a Feeling, and Hey Mama, has sold his back catalogue to Warner Music for a 9-figure sum. The French star made about $100 million, which is £72 million, in the deal, which also covers his future recordings. People familiar with the negotiations told the BBC. It comes amid a spending spree on hit songs, with Bob Dylan and Paul Simon's catalogues also selling for millions. Guetta is one of the biggest figures in pop and dance in the 21st century. The 52-year-old has sold 50 million records and racked up more than 14 billion streams, and has worked with Rihanna, Bruno Mars, Justin Bieber, the Black Eyed Peas, Nicki Minaj, and Sia. I don't really need to read any more than that, man.
Sure.
72 million fucking pounds.
Yeah, it's I kind of like it, and the reason I say I like it is the that idea of like future recordings.
You think he's going to be held to any obligations to record, or you think he could basically just be like, fuck yous?
Well, it must be in the contract. Like, how is that any different than a record deal? It's a record deal that he's not having to pay back.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's he's become a contracted employee, if you like, and that's why I say I like it, because it's like, we're going to pay you money, we're going to give you functionally infinite money for the rest of your life. You'll never have to worry about money, and in exchange for that, you're working for us. You know, we own your songs, and we're going to own things that you do moving forward. Would you take $100 million for the rest of your life's work?
It's also worth pointing out that this isn't $100 million for his cumulative work. He's already been paid for everything he's done till now.
Fair point, yeah.
This is just another big lump sum of, well, you've already made all this money for the stuff you've done. There you go.
I mean, I'd take that in a heartbeat.
Fucking right, I would.
You know, like, I wouldn't take $1 million. You know, $1 million for everything I do for the rest of my life.
No. 72 million? Oh, fucking sign me up.
72 million.
You're lucky if I'll make 72. So more than $1 million a year, I'm pretty happy.
Yeah, that's that's a good way of looking at it.
I'm not saying I couldn't spend that in a lifetime, but I certainly think I could be comfortable for a lifetime if I was frugal, and I wouldn't even need to be that frugal.
If you spent that in a lifetime, you deserve to have no money, because you'd have everything.
You are an idiot.
Yeah. I've just had people. If I had 72 million, I keep getting sent and seeing on my Facebook, Guitar have finally got Brent Mason tellies in stock.
So one other day, and I was like, I'm not even going to comment.
Yeah.
I'm not even going to comment.
I got one in stock, and you know, surprise, surprise, it seems that I know more about the guitar than the people that are selling it. Because Robert was demoing it, and someone commented on it and said, does that have a B or a G bender on it? And Robert was like, it's got a B bender on it. It's like, no, it has a B bender that can be switched to a G bender. It has both. It has whatever one you want.
It's set up as a B bender to start with, though.
Yeah, it's almost like I would have been the perfect person to have one of those to be pushing it. But my point is, even if I had £72 million in the bank, wouldn't buy one. Wouldn't fucking buy one. You fucked it, Fender. I'd probably buy the 10 grand one.
You probably would, aye.
Yeah, because I'd still really like that guitar.
Yes, you would.
That'd be nice to get my hands on. But
Brent, just send them one. Come on.
It's a lot of fucking money. No, but even then, there is the thing. If Fender contacted me and go, we really fucked that, actually, we'd love to send you one. I'm going to say yes to that. But it would be a difficult one.
I think they if they have realised that, they've probably left it a bit late to reflect, considering you were doing your licks for so long and you were on that hype train, and that could have very easily kept going.
Yeah.
Had they had any fucking sense.
Those they still do good. People still watch those, which is nice. I didn't even make it to 100 though. I think I got to like 84, but still 84 Brent Mason solos consecutively is one every day. That's more work than most of my peers do in their entire fucking careers. Pat yourself on the back, Levi. Well done. Thanks, Mike. I appreciate that.
Pat you right in the head.
Okay, so let's move on to what I think is probably our main story today. And this is DiMarzio. Now, I'm not sure where this was initially posted. This may have gone in an email. This was sent over to me by one of my pals.
That's very much like a press pack, isn't it?
Yeah, it looks like a press release. DiMarzio scores major win in the battle over its double cream trademark. I feel like we talked about this on the show before.
Did we? Talking about what?
The idea of patenting or owning.
We did, because we spoke about zebra pickups, and that would have been a Seymour Duncan thing.
Maybe.
Was it? I'm sure it was.
We definitely talked about it.
I'm sure we have. I'm sure, or somebody had asked for them custom. It might have been. I don't even know, man. I think anybody listening to this right now, Jimmy Page, maybe.
I wish DiMarzio got it, because they do. I just think they look like the bad guy. I do think they look like the bad guy in this scenario. If I went to Bare Knuckle and said, like, I want a set of pickups and I want them cream, like double cream bobbins, to then be told we actually can't do that because DiMarzio owns the concept of having pickups that are double cream. It does seem a little bit wild to me. There is a slightly different twist to this as we start reading through this. So why don't we read through it and we'll have a talk about it.
So this was what, for last month?
Yes.
After a 4-year battle in the United States Patent and Trademark Office, Trademark Trials and Appeals Board against DiMarzio Inc.'s double cream trademark, the TTAB, which is the Trials and Appeals Board, terminated the case at the beginning of the petitioner's trial phase. The petitioner, someone who challenges another rights in a trademark, chose to withdraw his opposition at the end of discovery rather than to proceed to trial. DiMarzio believes that this resolution truly exhibits the strength and enduring nature of the classic DiMarzio double cream trademark.
So I'm going to interject at this point. I don't actually think that it demonstrates that at all. It's entirely possible that the petitioner realised that they couldn't afford to go through a full trial. You know, it's possible. I'm not saying it's the case, but it's possible. You can't just conclude that the person withdrew from this lawsuit because they knew they couldn't win.
They might have also decided that they just cannot be fucked arguing with you over the fact that one certain colour cannot be used as bobbins on guitars. Yeah. It's such a fucking stupid and hollow victory in my mind. Yeah. To even take to court, because it's not the calling card. Yeah. It's something I do associate with them, but I don't associate with them solely, no other pickup maker.
But here's the weird thing, and we'll find this in a second. Like, it's absolutely something you would fully have associated with them during a certain time period in history, because that, if you saw those double cream bobbins, that's what you were looking at. You knew it was DiMarzio you were looking at. But now, because there are so many aftermarket pickups, you don't just see those colours and assume that it's those things. It's going to go on and list off some other companies that do own the colour schemes for certain things as a kind of defence for them having that. But I think in all of those cases, it will be a very specific shade of that colour. Whereas in this example, define cream. Cream isn't a colour. You know what I mean? A specific colour. Like that we've got, in fact, I'll bring it up here so we can see this cream. This is the cream that they're talking about, right? If I took that cream, that paint or whatever, however you want to think of it as, right? That exact colour, and then I added 5% more white to it, I bet they would still claim that they own that, you know? Because cream is just such a broad term. And it's like, well, hang on a minute. When on the colour spectrum do you stop owning it? When does it stop being yours? It doesn't make sense. So let's get onto that, though. I'll let you keep reading.
Sure. The DiMarzio double cream trademark has been in use for over 40 years and is one of the most recognised trademarks in the guitar industry.
Not even close to true.
Again, it's so subjective, it would be impossible for you to actually verify that in any sense. What is the double cream trademark? When Larry DiMarzio created the first commercially available aftermarket pickups in 1973, pre-installed humbucking guitar pickups came with metal covers as part of the design and 1950s patent, and the bobbins underneath were hidden. The bobbins were not considered a feature but part of the internal portion of the pickup. DiMarzio's pickups had uncovered coils, revealing the bobbins and pole pieces beneath. Larry chose a specific double cream configuration for his pickups so you could identify DiMarzio pickups from a distance. The double cream configuration became a distinguishing colour and an advertised feature at the time when the aftermarket pickup market was in its infancy. You put it right there. At a time.
Yeah.
At a time.
When it was in its infancy. Because when you read it from that perspective, like, it's actually quite interesting. We weren't about back in 73, you know?
And I can totally understand what they're saying here too.
Yeah.
Makes great sense.
Yeah, when you see some like Les Pauls from that era and you see cream pickups in them, you can go, oh, okay, yeah, so they've switched those out for DiMarzios. That's actually really fucking cool.
I wouldn't even say DiMarzio's right away, I would say Super Distortions.
Yeah.
Because that's exactly what you knew it was.
Yeah.
Every guitar I've ever seen that's got those white cream bobbins, but the pickup rings might be white or a different colour of cream because they've aged.
Yep.
You know right away, you go, those are a set of DiMarzios.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that I've never seen other pickups the same colour and not thought they were DiMarzios or whatever.
Yeah.
And not been like, oh, cool, they're just cream pickups.
Yeah. Actually, I mean, here's the wild thing, just to kind of ridicule DiMarzio a little bit on this one. If what you're telling us is that you firmly believe that cream pickups are so a part of your brand, and that when people see cream pickups, they will just assume that they must be DiMarzio products, why would you have any problem with other companies making cream pickups? You know, you just see any guitar with a set of cream pickups in it, aftermarket pickups, and you go, nice DiMarzios. You know, it's like stealing other people's hard work. It just, what's the harm? How is it hurting you? People don't buy the pickups because they're cream. Well, I guess some people buy pickups because they're cream, but if it fits the aesthetic of the guitar. But people are buying the pickups because it's the DiMarzio pickup. You could take that DiMarzio pickup and make it shit brown, and people would still buy it because they want the sound of the DiMarzio Super Distortion.
That's it. I mean, DiMarzio got some incredible sounding pickups.
Yeah.
The Deactivator is probably my favourite passive bridge pickup that I've ever had. Yep. That wasn't like a proprietary, like an Ormsby pickup.
Yep.
Genuinely, just something else. Or like the Breed and the Evolution. The two Steve Vai ones, they were fantastic as well. I had an Eric Johnson DP 103, I think it was, middle coil in one of my guitars, single coil. It sounded tremendous. It was a stacked humbucker, but it was really, really stratty.
I've said time and time again that, like, guitars are one thing, amps are so important to your tone, but pickups are just, it's astonishing how distinctly middle of the road stock pickups can be on guitars, and the boost in tonal quality that you would get from buying a guitar, especially during that era, you know, the 70s, from buying one of those guitars in that era, the boost in sound quality that you would get by upgrading to a pickup specifically designed for its tonal properties is astonishing. Not quite as important as your amp, I would still argue, but still definitely interesting. Anyway.
This down here, this box with 2 speakers in it, or 4 speakers, or 1 speaker is the most important part of your tone of all time. And it took me a long time to get into that mindset.
We did, actually somebody did write into us just recently saying, it was a very short email, so I didn't bother going with it for something to cover on the show. But they really appreciated that thing because it's something that they'd recently come around to and they'd never really thought about what their dream cab would be. But listening to you kind of spec yours out actually got their creative juices flowing a little bit. So
somebody said to me and was like, by the way, this guy makes the cabs you're talking about. And I was like, I know him. I've played his cabs. It was Robert Arachnid cabs. And I was like, I think I actually spoke about the exact cab I was talking about with the 15-inch speaker down firing with the active EQ in it, or the active crossover, sorry. And he's like, I'm pretty sure Rob done one of those. I was like, I'm sure I was talking to him at the time of that as well. So, small world.
Right, I'll let you go. I'll let you continue.
Sorry. Where did I get up to?
1975.
Aye, by 1975, DiMarzio double cream pickups were in the guitars of Kiss, Al Di Meola, Errol Slick, Pete Townsend, Rick Derringer, Tom Scholz, and more. It remains an enduring trademark to this day. What does this trademark cover exactly? The trademark, reg number 1169, nice, 205, comprises the double design representation of an electronic sound pickup for guitars in the distinctive shade of cream. The distinctive shade of cream is not giving us the exact figures.
Yeah.
We've got colour codes for things where you can get the index of it, where it'll be like FFFFFF or whatever the fuck, how they work them out. Give us the right tone and we'll make it nice and easy.
Yeah, because I like that they said in the distinctive shade of cream, not a distinctive shade of cream.
Maybe they have got a distinct one, but they don't want to give it out. Can you really
think that would be very important for them to give it out?
I would think
so
that.
You know when you're not infringing on their trademarks.
It might well be on the trademark, though, and they have mentioned the trademark red number. Can you really trademark a colour? In certain cases where a colour is identifiable with the brand, are identifiable. Yes, DiMarzio was the first to market with exposed double cream bobbins, and that is their trademark. That's not really explaining it. That's saying we did it, and therefore yes. It's not really putting any claim forward. It's just saying, well, how does it know? So similarly, Tiffany trademarked their blue colour, UPS trademarked brown, Christian Louboutin trademarked red soles on their shoes, John Deere trademarked green equipment, and 3M trademarked purple tape. Hard to argue with those points.
Sure. Like I actually like when you talk about like UPS trademarking brown. I think the idea there is that it's a very specific shade of brown.
It's not their vehicles, but it's their uniforms.
Yeah. So, but to be fair, and talk about this, often I like to fall back on there's the moral side of something or whether something should be the case, and then there's the legal side of something, what is the case. And these are all examples of where I would look at and go, okay, yeah, I'll give you that. Legally speaking, this is absolutely true, but should it be the case? And potentially, yeah. I mean, UPS is the one that I can identify with most on that particular one. But yeah, brown. It would just need to be, the way I would think of it is it would need to be a very specific shade of brown used in a very specific context. If our logo was the UPS brown, we don't have a problem there. If I had a sandwich shop and I went with UPS brown, I don't think I'd have a problem there. If I opened up a competing delivery company, then maybe you'd have an issue there.
I kind of agree with that, but I also don't think that anybody that sees a pair of shoes with red on the bottom instantly thinks they have to be Christian Louboutins, and that Louboutin's going to be out there going, you can't make shoes with red soles. I think that's more so just like an identifier and something that puts them as a household name, which only emboldens the argument you made, why are DiMarzio against other users building double cream pickups when the first thing that people are supposed to be thinking about, in your own words, is DiMarzio.
I mean, to be fair, I like to take both sides of an argument where possible and steelman the opposing argument. So
because you're devil's advocate.
Because it's the intellectually honest way to argue, right? There is an argument for why you would protect that, because if
you're arguing in good faith, yes.
If somebody had a guitar with knockoff double cream pickups in it and it sounded like absolute dog shit, you wouldn't want people to see those pickups go, that doesn't sound very good. Oh, and they're DiMarzio pickups in there, So I can kind of see it, but I can't take DiMarzio's side on this one because it's cream. It's just cream. It's just such a non thing.
I think it also doesn't help that there have been guitars coming out for years now with cream pickups, and it's never really been an issue that's been mentioned.
And I think that's probably where this is interesting, because there must be a very specific cream that they're talking about protecting, because you're right, we do see guitars with pickups that aren't DiMarzio's that we would assume, they're cream pickups, but they just must not be. Definitionally must just not be cream.
They could be aged yellow or whatever the fuck they call it, ivory.
Or fucking
off-white, eggshell.
Carbonara sauce. Right?
I trust you to go for carbonara sauce.
Well, because I was just thinking what looks like cream but shouldn't have cream in it, because carbonara shouldn't have cream in it.
No, it should not. He's fucking right. So on that note, protect your cream, boys. Look after it. Keep it safe.
As I go through there, it's just imagery from there on
out. It is.
And actually
advertising.
But when I see this super distortion humbucker, if I go for this is kind
of
cool.
SD in the path.
I see this, I do think of Paul Gilbert.
Of course you do.
Because I grew up seeing him play one of those, it was an Ibanez, of course, like the Ibanez Explorer with the super distortions in it. He was a big super distortion user, actually. Yeah, I can see why they would want to be defending it, but it's just one of those things that you have to really decide on. Anytime you are going to do something like this, you have to weigh up the business benefits versus the social downside of it. And in this case, you are trying to protect your business, but I think on the social side, you just make yourself look like assholes in this particular case. But what do you guys think? Let us know in that comment section below. Always interested to hear what you have to say.
Just such a strange argument to make, isn't it? The colour of our pickup bobbins equals arguments.
Yeah.
Strange hill to die on in my mind.
Yeah. Also very strange, the idea that, back in the day when Larry DiMarzio was designing his pickups and he wanted them to be distinctive, he went with cream, which is not a particularly distinctive colour, rather than just slamming a massive DiMarzio logo on these pickups, you know?
The logo was always really subtle on them, to be fair.
Yeah.
I always thought when I was younger that Seymour Duncan looked really garish in comparison.
Sure.
The DiMarzio was that little embossed on the bottom right, I would say, probably the pickup, like where your hand sits.
Yeah.
If it was a bridge pickup.
Yeah.
Much nicer in my mind that way. But
so trying to think if there's anything that I really want to add to this, but I don't think there is anything that needs to be added to this.
No, probably not. I wonder if there's any other interesting caveats that people have tried to claim are trademarks in that regard.
People are constantly trying to trademark weird things.
Oh, no doubt,
constantly. It's fucking Gibson
Well,
trying to trademark things fucking decades and decades after they've actually been
failing to defend her.
I can think of something.
Right.
Did you know? This show is brought to you by our friends over at Ormsby Guitars. We want to remind you guys that there is still time to get involved in the upcoming Run 16 guitars. Those include these incredible hypes available in 5 new colours. That Dragon Burst is absolutely stunning. You can also get your hands on one of the Metal X's, again available in a range of finishes. My personal pick has to be these headless Vs, absolutely outrageously cool. Imagine one of those in an 8-string, I absolutely love these. And finally, the Ando San signature model, available in 6, 7 and 8-string availability. Go and check them out at Ormsby's website right now. This show is also brought to you by our friends over at Rev Amplification, a one-stop shop for all of your tonal needs. Head on over to their website to check out their range of lunchbox amplifiers, both the D20 and G20, 20-watt amplifiers with built-in 2-notes torpedo technology so you can record direct into your computer. If that doesn't suit, you can also check out one of their highly popular G2, 3 and 4 pedals, giving you that trademark Rev tone in a stomp box. Incredible tones, I use these myself. And finally, you may notice in the back of these videos a Rev Generator 120, an absolute masterclass in modern electric guitar tones. Check it out at their site now. So as always, a huge thanks to our friends and family over at both Ormsby Guitars and Rev Amplification. You guys are awesome. We appreciate your love. I see what you've done with that Ormsby on the wall, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you grab it?
Mm-hmm.
So Mike has he got it out of the case to put on the wall, and I was like, "What have you done here?" And I mean, you'll bring that up to the camera, but it won't be in focus.
So I'm trying to bring it down here. So
sure.
Handsome Bailey, shout out to Bailey, who has been recording the Party Cannon videos and stuff, had given me tape before because it was ringing out above the nut as you get with any guitar that doesn't have anything in there. I don't have a fret wrap or anything. I didn't have it at the time, so Bailey was like, "Oh, I've got duct tape there, just use that." And it was unicorn duct tape, so I was laughing about it so much, and it was on the headstock for a long time. And then last time I saw him, he gave me the roll. So I was like, just sitting bored the other day, like, what's going to look stupid but fun? So I put unicorn racing stripes on my beautiful guitar, and I actually really like it. What do you think?
I like it. I like, I mean, I do. I guess the one comment I have is,
I could have done a better job.
You could have done a better job.
Absolutely.
But that's it.
But I was trying to cut it, holding it like, so it was like taped to the end of my desk.
Sure.
And rolled it out, and then I was using like a Stanley blade to cut it. So it's not like I did a good job. I was just like,
sure.
How janky will this look when I do it? And I might do it right next time. I might get like proper cutting materials and whatever else. But
sure. I actually just meant from in terms of the application, like getting it to perfectly line up, because I don't think...
Oh, because it's squinty and stuff, and it's also
quite perfect.
These aren't cut well either. Like the narrows here, that one's wider than that one.
Yeah.
I get that.
But
I just wanted to see how it looked.
Cool little modifications to a guitar, aesthetic modifications.
Stupid. It's probably the best way to put it.
So good work.
Thanks.
Anything that you would like to close the show with? I've just been sent an interesting message by our good friend KDH.
Right.
I won't talk about what it is that he wants information on the podcast, but I am going to tell you as soon as we finish, and this is going to be really, really interesting.
Saucy?
Yeah.
Well, if that's the case, then I don't have anything to add. Thanks very much for supporting us. Bye.
Yeah.
Just the usual. Thanks very much for listening. Thanks very much for being here. Thanks again to Ormsby and Rev for looking after us like total legends. Still haven't picked what guitar I'm going to get, as you know. Sent to Perry. What have you got lying about? Fuck all.
Yeah.
Right, okay, I'll wait then.
We can be patient.
Yeah, I'm totally happy to be patient, man. I barely play guitar. Well, it's not I barely play guitar, but I can't play more than one guitar at a time, and I have now 4 or 5 sitting about. You, on the other hand, have more than that in this room, at least by double.
Yeah, I actually meant to say something at the start of the show, like, it was we were talking about like how my week had been, and I was like, oh yeah, went to George's for the football and got absolutely steaming. The reason I brought that up is because that was Monday night, right? So I was steaming and almost completely missed the the live show. I went upstairs to spew, looked at my phone, realized it was like 9:45, and was like, oh god, the live stream's on. So I popped into the live chat and said hello to people. But yeah, I almost missed the entire thing, and obviously you weren't there because you were working.
I'm working again tonight, which is shite. So F's in the chat for me not being here, boys.
But these champions still showed up and watched the whole show when it didn't even appear that I was there. So
too busy laughing at you.
Yeah, thank you very much, guys. That was really really cool of you. It was. I hopefully won't ever do that again.
Liar.
It's very unlike me.
Give it a year or two.
Yeah, please do go check us out and buy me a coffee. Link is in the description. Send us fan mail. Link is in the description. If you'd like to buy any merchandise, link is in the description. All of that good stuff.
Also, absolutely get some information on us with any experiences you've had with music schools, specifically the bigger ones, because there's going to be a very interesting topic to come out of this if what we suspect is the case is the case. And this isn't throwing shade, this isn't picking targets, this isn't looking for non-existent victims to claim a bully. This is really to see if their money is where their mouth is when it comes to the music education, because as it was put in that post so eloquently by Melissa, I think there's a lot of people who are being told to teach ethics and to stand up for yourself in professional courage, and then also being browbeaten over the head with you can't have this. And
of course, one of the other things to take into consideration is, let's say you work for an employer, and I'm not talking about music schools here. Let's say you work for Tesco's, and for whatever reason, like there was some miscalculation in accounting, and like you got shortchanged on your break times or whatever. So you missed 5 minutes of breaks every day for 2 years, and all that time adds up.
Of course it does.
Time theft, right? And then one person sits down and works that out and goes, I'm going to do something about this. So they go to the boss and they're like, I think something's wrong here. The boss says no, so the person ends up taking them to court over it and wins money. In a scenario like that, everybody should know about it. All of the other people should know, because they should also be entitled to this thing.
Yes.
And when I bring things up like this,
they are entitled to it. The problem is that no one's there to argue the case in solidarity.
And maybe
Unions.
No one knows. So
join a union.
So in this scenario, like you telling me about things that have happened might result in me going, this is interesting. More people should know about this, because it might be something that collectively you should all be acting on, rather than one of you having a horrible fight on your own. You might collectively be able to stand together and have a union. Mike, until next time.
Caesar means production, brothers.
You did it again.